It is a pleasure and an unprecedented experience for me to have the chance to talk with someone who has captured some titles that I'm pretty sure I won't ever be capturing, although there was a time when I sort of dreamed of it. Our guest today is Nordine Zouareg. He has been Mr. France, Mr. Europe, Mr. World, and Mr. Universe. I think that's pretty much all the misters that there are available, at least as far as I know. And we've got some really interesting ground to explore together. So let me officially welcome him in. Nordine, how are you, sir?
Thank you for having me, Bill. I'm doing great.
Well, good. And what a journey you have been on and continue to be on. The book is called Inner Fitness: 5 Steps to Overcoming Fear and Anxiety While Building Your Self-Worth. I want to get into that here in a few moments, but at the very beginning of our conversation, can you take me back to whenever it was that you decided to pursue those incredible disciplines in physical fitness and ended up winning all of those titles? Why do that?
Bill, I think, it was more an affair of stumbling upon the things that I wanted to do. But in other words, I couldn't fathom being a Mr. Universe, much less a Mr. France, if you ask me, when I was growing up. The reason for that is I was born 3 months premature, weighing 2 pounds, Bill, wow. In the back of a French army truck in the middle of the Sahara Desert. So what are the chances, for a kid? On top of that, being diagnosed with rickets, a malnutrition disease. Spent the first 2 years of my life, I spent them in the hospital, in and out of hospitals. So, if you ask anyone, what are the chances or the odds for a child to survive, a 3 months premature to survive those days in a truck, not in the hospital? I think it's 10% chances. Currently, the chances are 10% for a baby premature, 3 months premature, born at 2 pounds, to make it. So those are all, journeys, mountains to climb that came, into my life as a result of me being driven to get to those points.
Why the back of a truck? What was going on in the world?
So my parents, both parents, are Berber, from North African Berber, both illiterate. And the French were colonizing Algeria. And when the time came to vote for the independence of Algeria, the French army packed all these trucks with Berbers to take them to the nearest polling offices. And I decided to come to this world in the middle of that journey to the polls. That's how it happened in the Sahara Desert, an Algerian part of the Saharan Desert.
Born in the back of a truck in the Sahara Desert is certainly a good introduction for a biography and the beginning of a story that continues to be told.
Yeah, actually, yes, absolutely. One of your colleagues from Germany, who we did a podcast a couple of days ago, and he asked me to give a title to the biography, which, what came through my mind is 3 countries later. Because I went from born in Algeria, immigrated to France to seek medical attention, and then immigrated to the US.
And you've been here in America since when?
I came in America in 1994, 1995, the Department of Justice awarded me the Alien of Extraordinary Ability.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit. There's actually something called the Alien of Extraordinary Ability status that I've never heard of before, but you were awarded that from the State Department.
I was awarded of that, and actually, Wikipedia is only naming naming what 25 recipients since forever. John Lennon is one of them. Justin Bieber, myself, Melania Trump, and a few others.
Okay, let me ask you a question about coming to America first, if we can. Quite often, our news, whatever the network is you choose to watch, the news is usually dominated by all the things that are wrong with our country, right? It doesn't matter who you turn to, it's led that way, no matter what night you turn on the TV. And yet, people seem to have a great attraction to coming to America. So it can't be all that bad, because I don't see a lot of people scrambling to get out. I see people scrambling to get in. What was it about coming to America that appealed to you back in 1994 and 5?
In 1994, I received a call from my former coach who plays in Pumping Iron with Arnold. His name is Serge Nubret, and he plays if you watch the movie, he plays his second. And Serge called me, and he needed me to help him out with this new business he had in New Mexico, Albuquerque. I accepted, needless to say, that I always dreamt, Bill, I always dreamt to come to America. I remember drawing, since I was little, drawing American flags on my books, and ironically, a muscle man. The two things I draw since I was 10 years old was an American flag and a muscle man. I still draw the muscle man the same way. And I even got expelled from school because I was drawing the American flag, and they didn't appreciate it, whether it was a political statement from the teacher or simply because I was not, allowed to draw on my books. Anyway, so I accepted to come, and I helped him out, and it fell through. I ended up homeless, living in a car, and thinking about whether I should stay or go. And that was one of the biggest decision I had to make in my life. Obviously, I made the right decision, and that's a whole podcast in itself. But I made the decision to stay. And one thing led to another. I went to see a lawyer that was referred to me by someone who recognized me at the a shopping center. And when I was making my decision whether to leave, or I was to leave the next day, but I went to the shopping center to buy a present for my mom, and he recognized me, approached me, and said, "Oh my God, no, you're not Nordine." I'm like, "Yes, I am. I am Nordine, but may I ask you, how do you recognize me?" "Well, I have a calendar, Weider calendar, with your picture in it."
The Joe Weider calendar.
Yes. And there was a bunch of other guys in it. And I said, and he said, "It's on my wall." And this kid was a law school student, and he introduced me to Melvin D. Barron, an attorney, and an immigration attorney. And Melvin had his glasses right in the middle of his nose, suspenders, looked like Larry King, and big, huge library behind him. We got there. I sat down, very timid, and so he asked me the reason why I wanted to stay in the U.S. And I said, "Well, I love America. I've been watching John Wayne movies since I was 2." And he said, "Well, I want to know the real reason. And what do you think you can stay here? Why do you think that?" I said, "Well, I don't know if I can stay. That's why we're here." He said, "Are you planning to marry an American?" I said, I don't even know a girl from America, let alone marry one." Well, second question, "Do you have $1 million to put in the bank?" "No."
"No, I'm sleeping in my car."
"I'm sleeping in the car that I rented." Number 3, "Do you have a a skill that no American can do. And I said, I don't think so. And then the kid that referred me to him said, tell him. And he pushed my shoulder, tell him. I said, tell him what? He said, tell him that you're Mr. Universe. and he's, okay, did I hear correctly, Mr. Universe? I said, yeah, I'm also Mr. World and Mr. Europe and Mr. France. And he said, okay, wait a minute. Melvin stands up, turns around, grabs a book, drops it, maybe a 100-pound book, drops it on his desk, starts looking and browsing the pages, and he goes, aha, you can stay here under the
Alien.
title of Alien of Extraordinary Ability. And I said, I don't even know that. I don't even know what that is. He said, that's for Nobel Prize, for world champions, gold medalists. And I was, okay, count me in. 3 months later, I received a green card, and I waited, it was not the green card itself, but it was a permit. And then a few months later, I got my green card as an alien of extraordinary ability.
Okay,
and so I stayed.
While all that's happening, you must be thinking, this is the greatest country I've ever heard of. I was
so
right.
My world was both. I was uncertain. Uncertainty really was something that I was pondering on, whether I should go back or stay. And then all of a sudden, I'm in heaven, on top of the world.
And Nordine, when all of that stuff's transpiring, when you're sleeping in the car, when you're wondering if you're going to stay, I have to assume you're still in almost competitive ready status, body-wise, physically wise. I mean, maybe not that same day, but if somebody said you got a month, you're ready to go and train and defend your title of all these different levels, which makes it, to me, even more mind-blowing that you were homeless at the time and unsure what your future was going to hold. How much, and this sort of leads into where we're heading with the discussion about your book, how much inner fortitude did it take for you to kind of take a bigger picture approach and say, you know what, something's going to come through, something's going to happen here. I'm confident enough in what the work that I've put in that something will come through. Because you could have easily just, the first or second night you're sleeping in your car, you could have said, well, this is lousy. This isn't what I signed up for. I'm out.
Yeah, that's a tremendous question, Bill. Every one of us either live, as I mentioned in my book, InnerFitness, at a low level of existence, where we're constantly thinking negative. We are under a tremendous amount of anxiety, fear, doubt, uncertainty. We are pushed down, and we have no self-worth. We just exist at that lower level of existence where there's no creativity, because the brain, Bill, cannot really be optimally creating whenever you're under fear and paralyzed by anxiety. So I was there. But at the same time, the love for America is what saved me, because I always say love is a state of being that has no reason to be. It's just there. It's what help us connect to our passion, connect to our self-worth, and have a meaning to our life. So my life had no meaning for a few days, because I left the job that was supposed to be the reason why I came to the US. My self-worth, was inexistent. So when, like I said, America is the reason why, and it's not only America, but the content of America, the people, the incredible mountain in New Mexico. I was driving all night and I couldn't see myself go back to France because I told everyone, I'm going to the land of opportunity, the American dream. How can me, go back and tell them that I failed? I wasn't able to do that.
One of the issues that you address in your book, Inner Fitness, that issue of self-worth, rings around in my mind a bit in the context of the competitions you were involved in. I mean, let's paint the word picture of what a bodybuilding competition looks like visually on the stage. You've got men and women who are physical specimens right out of the anatomy book you used to have in high school. I mean, it's every muscle is on full definition display. You're wearing a Speedo the size of a headband. You've got nothing to hide, man. It's all out there. And yet a panel of judges will sit in their seats and have you do your various poses and turn around so they can, and they're looking to see if there's perfect symmetry. They're looking to see if there is perfect definition, and somehow differentiating one competitor from the next who is also in pretty much perfect condition. But the titles that you won of Mr. Europe, Mr. France, Mr. World, Mr. Universe, all came about because someone else or a group of other people were assessing you. They were judging you. And it strikes me as somewhat ironic that you could ever struggle with self-worth when your profession lent itself to being judged all the time. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but it sounds like quite a mental wrestling match that would be going on.
Yes, and that's a terrific question again, Bill. When I reached the high level of competition, high level of performance, and I no longer suffered from self-worth. I was connected to it. That's what gave me the ability to be passionate about what I was doing. That's what gave me meaning. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't the fact that I stepped on stage and posed for 3 minutes and let somebody else judge me. But for me, it was more of the ability to be both the sculptor and the sculpture. There's not very many arts that allows you to be both the sculpture and the sculptor. So you are given a block, and you alone has to decide on what you're going to do with that block, what you're going to do with your life, and you start from there. A series of choices that we are presented with, whether I should do this or I should do that, whether I should go this way or I should go that way. And so all these choices were presented to me, and the results of my decision-making made my life. To this day, these series of choices that I'm presented with. So, Bill, the ability to connect to my self-worth was I took that ability when I reached high level of performance. And that's not only in bodybuilding, but in everything in life. It's the same discipline.
Well, and you can't step on that platform and be flooded in fear and anxiety, because it would cripple you from a competitive standpoint.
You wouldn't even get there at that point. You wouldn't even be able to. And that, like I said, passion and meaning. So you would, listeners may ask themselves right now, but well, what is the meaning of somebody posing on stage chiseled? Well, that's somebody who's walking around in the supermarket is also inspiring so many other people. You know what I mean? Without even saying a word. You have people coming out of the doctor's office who have given 2 months to live. Some given the ultimatum of losing 100 pounds, otherwise their health is jeopardized. So when they see someone like that, they see the possibility. You see?
Yeah.
They see that it's possible, maybe not to be Mr. Universe, but to lose the weight. So there's far beyond getting on stage and posing. But the discipline itself, Bill, it's the same whether you want to apply it for bodybuilding or become like Arnold, a superstar or a governor, whatever. James Cameron was asked the question, who is the most hardworking person that you know? He said Arnold. And they asked him why, and he said, because he uses the same discipline he used to become Mr. Olympia as he is using to become an actor.
You can't fake your way into that, right?
No.
I mean, if you don't put in the work, you're not going to be there. You cannot fake it.
No, you can't fake it, and I think vision is important. Arnold always saw, like as myself, I saw where I was going. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I desired deeply. All I needed to do is create a plan and then repeat it long enough so it will yield the result I wanted.
Do you think, let me make a transition here. You've been speaking all around the world, all sorts of topics on fitness and mindfulness and emotional clarity, in conference settings and in corporate settings all over the place. I have a theory, and you can tell me if this theory has any basis in reality. I think there are an awful lot of people who are overwhelmed by fear and anxiety because when they were younger, nobody told them that they had potential to make a difference or that they could achieve whatever it is they were dreaming of doing. Their passion was somewhat discouraged instead of being encouraged. Now, I was very blessed by parents who supported what my dreams were and my visions was, and always encouraged me along the way. But I have a lot of friends who had the exact opposite upbringing. And to this day, I believe, I haven't heard them say this, but I believe they're working in jobs that they just cannot stand. They don't want to get out of bed in the morning, but at least it's something. It's, different than nothing. But if they could reset it, if they could go back again a bunch of years, they would have headed in a different direction. I have to think you're seeing that a lot as you address
Absolutely,
different
Bill.
problems.
Absolutely. It's ironic you saying that, because I was thinking about something earlier, and this is what came into my mind, and just like that. It was most people live a life suggested by others to them.
Yeah.
In other words, they told them that's the top and that's what you should do. Or becoming a doctor, just like your father, is what you should be doing. And that is, it's mind-boggling that people are not, they're living by default based on what others told them. And that is why I wanted to write InnerFitness, because I wanted to debunk this myth of self-esteem. Okay. The self-esteem, Bill, is what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So it comes from the Latin word estimare, which means to estimate. You see, to estimate what? To estimate your potential, to estimate you, okay, based on your thinking, your learning, and what others say about you. In other words, people can tell you that you're worth nothing, and you can believe them. Or people can tell you you're worth, you are incredible, but that's self-esteem. It can be boosted up and bursted anytime by anyone. You see, that's the problem with society-driven self-esteem. And it's used everywhere, whether it's politics, religion, everywhere. We first deflate the person's self-esteem and then offer a pill to boost it back up. And
well, that goes on steroids when you start talking about social media.
Exactly.
And the number of
So,
people who live for a thumbs up or a like or
yeah,
a follow, and who can subsequently be crushed by a comment from somebody they'll never meet. And yet
you,
we've allowed ourselves, I have this theory, Nordine, I have this theory that we have allowed people to live rent free in our heads, and we need to start charging them more, because right now we're just letting people in for nothing.
yeah,
And it's
exactly.
devastating.
Exactly. And, you know, a person with low self-esteem is very easily manipulated.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they want to hear, they want you to tell them what they want to hear. And they're always in denial of the truth. You see, you are denying the truth. And it's much easier to deny the truth than to accept it. Okay. The pain of being in a dreamland is less than accepting the truth. But when you accept the truth, you can actually fix what is not working. If you do not know what's wrong, you will never fix it.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because we have introduced a phrase in our culture in the last few years, and that phrase is my truth. I've introduced my truth, or he's speaking his truth or her truth. And I just keep saying, no, listen, it's the truth. It's either true or it's not. It's not up to your opinion. No, you can have your opinion, you can have your interpretation, but it's not truth. Truth is actually something that's quantifiable.
So yeah, what I would say is others' reality versus truth. Okay. So everyone sees, we don't see with the eyes, we see with the brain. And what do we see with the brain? We see what's going on in our subconscious mind. Okay. And so that's what we see. When we see things, whatever reality we are experiencing, we cannot demand that the neighbor next door sees the same thing as us. So this is why it would help to find a middle ground where we can explain, you know, to each other why we're seeing what we're seeing, and exchange a vantage point and show what we're seeing. So I think it's agreeing to disagree until we agree, you know, but we do not, most people don't want to make the effort. It's too painful to be wrong.
Yeah, that's very true. We'd rather get angry than just listen and realize that.
But
maybe
in
we missed it.
reality, Bill, if they ever understood that, if they accept to surrender to the truth, whatever that may be, and acknowledge their wrongness, that's short-lived. What comes after that is peace. What comes after that is peace. When you acknowledge that you were wrong, now you can fix it. Now you can live free. Now you're at peace. But no, you choose to be wrong, and you're going to fight to be wrong, and you're going to pay with your health for that.
I read somewhere that somebody wrote that bitterness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick.
Yeah, we use the same for jealousy, you know, envy. You know, it's like drinking poison and hoping that the other person's dying. Now, it's not going to happen. You are the one who drank the poison. You're the one who's going to suffer the consequences of such a doing.
How have you seen this era of COVID impact people in the categories of fear and anxiety? Seems like those are hot button issues that are being pushed every single day by the next mandate that comes out or the next news report.
Yeah.
And it's for real. People are really struggling with those two emotions.
Absolutely. And it went, mental health issues went, it's just skyrocketed. And, you know, you were mentioning news earlier. We don't have news here. We have propaganda.
Yeah.
It's not the same as news. Okay. When I talk about news is, you know, how much, you know, in anyone's life, how much does politics really has to do with their life? Very little. Okay. Politics doesn't bring food on my plate. Okay. It doesn't help me. But yet, look at how many people are, polarized by it. How many people are watching the news all day long, and you have two opposites or three different news channels that are bombarding each other and creating, who's getting sick? Not the anchor who's going home with millions of dollars, but the person who's watching it, eating popcorn and hot dogs and drinking beer and getting angry out of their minds.
So what's your advice to those who are struggling with all of that?
So to answer your question in terms of, fear by nature paralyzes you, pushes you to do things, or make you run away. Okay, by nature, that's the functioning of fear. So if you're paralyzed and driven by anxiety, you are no longer, your brain is not able to make sense of things. It just wants to hear more of the same. Okay, and usually, and most of the time, the same is always negative. So for most people, and I work with people from billionaires to Hollywood stars to the soccer mom, but I can tell you there's one thing in common. When somebody is adamant about their point of view and doesn't want to hear the other side, that person is hooked up to their phones from the second they get up in the morning to find out what is going on, and not so much what's going on, to find out that their point of view is still solid. So that has ramifications, direct health ramifications. Okay, if we had to put a device in the inside of a person, we would see that the gauge for blood pressure would be this high to the top.
Yeah.
The cortisol level to the top. It's a cluster F, Bill. Just because they want to be right, just because they voted for this person, or just at the end of the day, it really does not matter in their lives. So this is what I have to say to these people. You want to live free? You want to live free of anxiety and fear? Give yourself a chance to surrender to the present moment where fear does not reside. Fear resides in the past or the future. Okay? Put yourself in that state, love state of being, and try to stay there as much as possible. When you are driven by these news and you get angry, shut it off and do some deep breathing exercise to bring you back to the present moment. So you won't be angry at your kid, or you won't be angry at your wife or husband. You won't be angry at the clerk. You won't be angry at the waitress who's serving you food with love, and you just push them away because your text said something about Trump or something about Biden or something about,
Yeah.
It's Bill, it's incredible how people change because of one little text, one little thing they heard that completely their mind switched from being happy to being extremely miserable.
It happens quickly, doesn't it?
Oh,
0 to 60
in a second. Yeah, that's because of threats. You think you're threatened.
Yeah.
Okay. Your brain, remember, I said that we are in default. We think with what we have registered in our subconscious mind. So something, triggered whatever the news, the word you heard triggered a memory, a very negative memory. And now physiologically, you are responding, you are reacting.
Yeah.
To things.
Hey, let me ask you a kind of a fitness related question as we wind down our time together. What did you do on those days when you really did not want to work out? You knew you had to. You had a competition coming up. The alarm went off at 4 a.m. and you're like, I don't want to do this today.
So ego is responsible for that. Ego is the one that doesn't want to. So most of my workout, the best workouts ever that I had were the ones that I did not want to do. In other words, prior to getting to the gym, I felt horrible. But when I got myself there, see, it's getting yourself there. Just get yourself there. You have to, what we call oversmart or outsmart your mind by saying, no, that little roommate in your head, just say, no, your suggestions are not working for me right now. I'm going to the gym. And see how it feels. If you still feel shitty, sometimes it's, we do feel like crap and we don't feel like working out. So go there, and after 15 minutes, if you're still that way, maybe you're sick, maybe you have problems with your joints or whatever, and then you can go home. But no, don't do it before. Just get in your car and drive to the gym.
At some point in your post-competition world, you decided, you know what, I have a message I want to share with people. I'm going to put it in book form. I'm going to go start speaking at different places. How did you make that transition? How hard was it to stop competing and start sharing in the way that you do now?
One of the hardest things that a professional athlete have is to transition to the normal life.
Right.
Some of them, very few do succeed. A lot of them end up being depressed, drinking, doing drugs. For me, I have to tell you, I still feel sometimes, some regret. I would love to have the same body that I had when I was 20 years old, which is impossible. Of course, I don't have the same strength, but at the end of the day, Bill, it's not about fitness. It's about inner fitness. Without inner fitness, there couldn't be no fitness. Why? Because if you don't have your head together, no matter how good you look, it does not matter. Okay? If you don't have your head together, it does not matter how you look like, because the energy you're going to reflect and project onto others is not going to be one that is attractive. You see, we repel people or we attract them. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are or handsome you are. If you are reflecting a negative energy, you are repelling people and opportunities.
The book is called Inner Fitness: 5 Steps to Overcoming Fear and Anxiety While Building Your Self-Worth. Nordine Zouareg, former Mr. Universe and all the other Misters, is the author of it and has been our guest. By the way, I was saving this for the end, but I wore an extra loose shirt so that I wouldn't intimidate you.
Okay.
I just wanted I just wanted to be polite.
But you see what my shirt does.
Yes.
Say, self-worth. No matter how I look, I always have self-worth.
It is great. What a pleasure to visit with you today. And I hope the book does very well for you. Again, it's called Inner Fitness, and we'll put a link to it in our podcast notes as well. Nordine, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me, Bill.